Okay, number 3. John has who that looking up in the over there. Yes, that was from the law. And that's the settlement. You're going to get a guy after the organization all the bird and the elbow. You can't vote. You can't throw it. You can't do this. So,
Nice. Good fucking tree right there. Awesome.
The finest luxury fragrances are now exclusively available at your local store. Unstopable's unlimited collection makes everything smell better. Luxury laundry scent bees so you can smell unstoppable.
fire on the phone. Take it in there. You can see he's off stage. He's going to go. All right, close. Billy, let's be honest. Give me a setup, man. It's going to get you any closer to the playoffs. Hey, just run the ringtone. You said luxury you can't afford, man. If you can, get that swing on the contract. And you get it. But at least one, you need one. Who is it? I bet that's it. I'll call you back. What do you think you get to right now? What's up on that approach contract? He's 75. So you can't get me saved no more. You get the Giants and City benefit on Sunday when I left over. Yes. Take good. What do you think is better for us? I mean, like you have almost nothing. Why would you do that to the Johnny Mason? All I want is a couple of bucks and sweeten it. Throw in, say, Anderson. Anderson. I like him. No, you don't. Nobody likes him. I don't even know why he's doing it. Let's just do it, okay? Vancover, Michael. Anderson, you don't even know his name. I'm thinking about it. Think about it, call me back.
Fuck. You have no cap, Boston Birdie.
Fine. You can't afford it, Billy. You sure about that? I can get pressure much to make Tony softening. I could be wrong, but I saw the service interested in see if it's still interested. Call me back. The next event. Is just offered the event? Steve Phillips. Steve Bond, and Ned Snow. That's good. Oh, this is the crew on recon. You know, Billy. I think you're looking for that kind of food. I can put some benefit. They'll make it quick and easy. Y'all made it. Hang on a second. Maybe. Hold it. Okay. Just over ready. Nothing, Atherton. You don't even know what it is. Now it's fine. Fine. It's just extra good. Oh, not fault. That is us in the future. Here's the deal. I'm getting her in town. It's done deal. That was John's my benefit, and I told him he had some money. But I'd rather deal with you because you can get him in that fit and $225,000 in cash in his own cash. Think about it, but let me call you back first. It's benefit. Yeah.
Okay, he's playing really well right now, Connor Darden. If I trade him now, though, but he's giving me one of my best scores, though, so far this season. Because he has more points than fucking Besser. Yeah, he has way more points than Besser.
Please. Yes, I added the please. Okay. Hold on one second, please. Okay, so this says location is going to sell. Plus, when you sell this for your money next year, you're keeping the profit. Okay, thank you very much. We'll call you back. Thank you. Come on! Come on! Jack, call the fire up. Never mind, I got it right here. Lauren? Yeah? Listen, I don't want him to come pissing against you tonight. Tell him to change his clothes and send him over. I got you the money. Yeah? Great. I don't want to change him to do it all. But since you picked up that code, you gotta send someone down.
Peace work. Fuck.
Alright. I know I've been struggling lately, but second this season definitely triggered around and making it work and simply mindful. He did start getting dressed. Okay.
axes are a very mediocre collecting class, and there are 17 of them for some reason. And obviously for most of these, there's almost like no reason to use them, or just like a very small and niche use. Now, thankfully, as of the DLC, they have
$11 cash base right now, so that's actually fucking genius.
I feel like they've separated themselves a lot more from
Hey,
their
for
hammers,
one, for being part of this team. Harrison, too.
They didn't really do that much less damage,
Rossi,
but they
like
have the strike damage, and there's a lot more stance damage, because axes get the same stance damage as things like straight swords and katanas, but they're just going to typically get less range, worse movesets, and just less DPS. But now with their movesets being a lot faster, these two-handed light attack combos, for some of these options, they
Why,
just have
little giant eater to be like boss.
Now when it comes to really small and quick touch weapons, being you're not going to really stance break that quickly, you're kind of just better off going into power stancing combos to either maximize DPS or status effect buildup. As I think like curve swords, speeds, and straight swords that is like better off power stance, because they just result in higher DPS due to their movesets hitting simultaneously, and it's better potential status effect buildup. And unfortunately for the axes, that is getting terrible power stancing combos. They have such long animations to the point where it's not really worth using at all. And fight brothers have them two-handed, which is kind of how I like to see the Josh sword as well. So if you actually did want a two-handed quicker type weapon and you didn't really care power fencing, I think axes can be some of the best options. But just as always, this is a PvP only list, and they're all going to be random how useful they are. Starting off, actually bottom would be fourth Tongue Action, which is one of the worst weapons to come out of the DLC, and definitely the worst axe in the game too. This weapon gets the worst range and the worst damage out of all the axes. Now it does actually share the quicker type of light attack combos, which are basically identical to things like the hand axe and the force hatchet.
Yeah, there was definitely a trader for sure.
Like the force hatchet, but the force hatchet is just going to be the same thing but better, because it just gets more damage and can be infused, because the force tongue hatchet for some reason requires slipping stones, but cannot be infused, and it gets stuck with this terrible skill. Dragon Form Flame for 14 FP does this terrible fire-based AoE that's literally identical to the Fire Breather skill that the Torches use. And the funny thing is, the skill where Torch Fire Breather attack literally does more damage than the Force Hatchet. So there is practically nothing useful about this weapon at all. Like the regular Force Hatchet just outbusts this in every single way. I don't know why the skill wasn't even the slightest bit unique. Don't know why it requires stepping stones, and I don't know why you have to farm for it either. The Force Hatchet is basically just a direct upgrade. Number 16 is the
Thank you, Boston.
directly outclassed by the Iron Cleaver. Because these weapons also do get a unique axe move set. They get these quick downward slams, and it also do get this heavy attack that covers a nice distance. The thing is, the Iron Cleaver is just going to outclass it because it has more range, does more damage in basically every single infusion, and it's going to be easier to acquire as well. All these Celebrant weapons have the gimmick of just giving you more runes per hit, and when the Celebrant's Cleaver, it's only 10 runes per hit, which is basically useless. But the trade-off thing is that it's a 5% drop rate. Like, these are some of the hardest weapons in the entire game to farm. And the benefit is just getting a worse version of another weapon, but instead you just get a bit more runes. Like, even if this thing was like 100 runes per hit, I'd still find it useless. Number 15, the hand axe. Now, as I mentioned about the force tongue hatchet, this actually does get the faster type of axe moveset for these light attack combos. Now, the trade-off being is that it is going to get less damage and a lot less range, but you're all get the same stance damage, you find. And the movesets are very quick to the point where they're very easy to use, but not that much faster than the axes to one of them having such little damage. Now, it's still not going to be a bad weapon by any means. Like, this weapon still gets more damage than things like the Bandit's Curse, and it can swing faster. But the thing is, something like the force hatchet also gets the exact same moveset, only gets a little bit less damage, but gets passive bleed. So I think that one is just going to directly outpass it. But this one does have the use of a bit more range, and it can be bought very early on in the game. A lot of these axes have to be farmed. So if you did want to axe with a faster moveset, you didn't have to bother farming for. But if you did want to put in the effort of farming, then there's going to be better options out there. Number 14, the Battle Axe, which is actually very similar to the Hand Axe, in that it's just a regular infusible axe that has average range, average damage. But the major benefit of this weapon is that you can acquire it very early on. And now at this point, like the next 10 options are kind of going to all be in the exact same tier because they all have very niche uses. And you can like rearrange them any which way, and I wouldn't really mind. For the Sacrificial Axe in particular, it actually does get some of the worst range out of all the axes, but actually does have a couple of things going for it. One, it gives you FP for every single kill, which is about 4 FP per kill. It actually does get the highest base damage out of all the infusible axes too. So going into these elemental builds, it actually can be the highest damaging axe in the game. Whether it be pure fate or pure intelligence, it actually can be a decent damaging option, and paired alongside the passive FP regen that you can get. It might make for a good pairing with these casting types of builds. Now the thing is, it's still just a regular axe moveset, and it gets pretty full range. And 4 FP for every single kill is not that noticeable at all. And it could be good as an option if you wanted to get some passive FP regen, and if you didn't really care to use weapons. But in my opinion, this thing should just be like FP per hit. Like even if this thing was like 3 or 4 FP for every single hit, I wouldn't even consider it to be broken. It would just be a very good option. And once they better alongside these intelligence and base types of builds. But the way it stands right now, it's just going to be a basic axe with some decent damage and like a gimmick of some more MP regen that's only going to be useful for these faith and intelligence builds. And if you want to go on a faith or intelligence build, there's like 100 other weapons in the game that are just going to perform better. Number 12 would be Ice Ring Hatchets. Now, this weapon does also share the exact same moveset as the Hand Axe and the Fork Hatchet, as it does do this quicker light attack combo. Now, typically for those weapons, the trade-off is that it has a lot less range and a lot less damage, which is half true for the Ice Ring Hatchet. It does actually get a lot less damage, but the range is still actually pretty decent. Now, this is a summer-based weapon that cannot be infused, and you can get it very early on, so it is going to be very easy to upgrade. It also does come with passive cost. Unfortunately, it does get stuck with a non-unique skill in the Fall Frost Stomp, which you can acquire in the exact same location. And you can put a Fall Frost Stomp on some like other type of axe, even the Hand Axe does get the exact same moveset, and it can just get more damage with both the skill and the weapon. But the main value in the Ice Ring Hatchet is that it's an early game weapon, very light, easy to upgrade, comes with passive cost, and a decent skill. Like, it's going to be outclassed by a lot of these other smithing axes, especially once it gets like mid or later in the game. But as an early game option, it's perfectly fine. It gets a very quick moveset, it's easy to use, you get a nice AoE skill, and you just get passive cost, which is a very good status effect. Once you get ready for the game, you just get off using like another weapon, and potentially even using things like Divine Beast Frost Stomp, which are just going to be like the direct upgrade. Number 11 is Smith Script Axe. Now, every single one of these Smith Script weapons that have these projectile throwing heavy attacks, they just all be S tier, but they're just not. And it's so upsetting because from so far see that it actually has a fully projectile heavy attack and still remains paired alongside a bunch of different negative side effects. So I'm not saying the bucket is useless by any means, but it actually does get some pretty average damage, some average range. It does get scalings in like basically every single stat, so at this really high level, it can actually out-damage most of the other axes. But the major selling point is going to be its heavy attack that just throws the weapon. And as I already mentioned, projectiles can just cheat the game. You don't have to engage with an enemy, and you can just keep just firing off projectiles, which is going to be very good against most bosses in this game. And the fact that it's tied to a heavy attack means that there's plenty of things that can help boost the damage of this, and it's not going to consume any FP. And you have the option to either fully charge it or just use the uncharged version, which does come out pretty quick. And you can do like a light attack damage at a distance, which is just very handy. Any single time that enemies just get further away from you, you can just damage them, which is actually not going to regenerate their stance speed on, and it's just going to make the fight flow a lot nicer. Now, unfortunately, it just comes with so many downsides. One, the stance damage is just horrendous. Like, regular light attacks can just do more stance damage than the projectile heavy. It also consumes a lot of stamina, and I think the worst part is that it gets really, really bad damage falling. If enemies are even the slightest bit further away from you, you're just getting like less than half the amount of damage that you normally would. Even if you are hitting custom headshots, which is like another benefit of the weapon, is that it does track towards your head, the damage is still really shit at these longer distances. And in that instance, the heavy attack is just useless. And you're only going to really benefit if you're at closer ranges, and at that point, you better not just use like a regular charged heavy attack with like a normal axe, because they're just going to get much more stance damage and not consume anywhere near as much stamina, and also just do more uncontrolled damage. So for the most part, these things are just like gimmicks with like very small increases. Number 10 is the Force Hatchet, an infused weapon that does get passive bleeds and sheds the exact same moveset as the Hand Axe with those quicker lifetime combos. And as I mentioned, because it has this combo, it has to have a trade-off in damage and in range, and this thing does get some of the worst damage and the worst ranging class. But the fact that it is going to be your lone passive bleed weapon out of all the axes, it's going to be pretty useful. And also this moveset tends to be faster than like curve swords, and also just do more damage. So if you just two-hand this weapon, it can literally get higher DPS than a two-handed Scavenger's curve sword. Now, as I've been mentioning, with these quicker type weapons, specifically if you are going to go with fast spec builds, power stancing is going to be the optimal option, and power stancing axes just suck, and power stancing curve swords are broken. So yeah, this weapon is nowhere near as good as that option, but if you didn't really care to power stance, this can be a decent blade alternative. Now the thing is, it is very reliant on blade. If you go against enemies that are resist or immune to blade, it's not going to perform anywhere near as good as some of the other axes, and it is just going to have the worst range too. And this thing also does get some split piercing damage. Now the unfortunate part is that the light attack combos don't get piercing damage. It's just only getting standard damage, which is extremely upsetting. If this thing actually did get piercing damage, I would consider this at minimum 8 tier, because obviously piercing damage is the best damage type in the game. And for a really quick weapon, it can make for a very nice pairing. And also, if you did want a two-handed axe and go with a blade type of build, things like the warp axe or potentially even the little blade are just going to perform better. And if you want the power stance, then both curve swords are just going to be much better options. Number 9, the Jawbone Axe, which is a strength-based infusible axe, does get the regular axe moveset. Its damage can be on the higher end, but it's not going to get as much as things like the Warp Axe. And in fact, if you have the farm for it, you might question why it's even useful at all. But this thing is going to get striking damage. Which this is a lone axe in the game that does get striking damage, which typically axes only get standard damage, and strike is just a better option. There's a lot more enemies are weaker to this type. Now typically, if you wanted a smaller type of strike weapon, you would just use a hammer instead. And hammers I typically do just prefer because they just get a lot more stance damage, but very similar speeds. But axes do have a couple of benefits. One, they just do more damage, like this weapon can determine how damage this does, and they get more weapon skill options too. You can do things like spinning slash, sword dance, blade strike, vacuum slash. Hammers don't get these options, but axes will. So if you actually wanted to use any of these weapon skills, and you just wanted to really R1 spam and not really care much about touch heavy type builds, the drawback axe can be a very solid option, especially if you do end up going through a bunch of different catacombs and fighting enemies that are weak to dragon damage. This could be like a nice small secondary option to your strength type of build. Number 8, the Highland Axe. Now, this weapon is not going to be that decent as a damaging option by any means. Against the regular axe moveset, does kind of take better off strength, but even things like the battle axe are just going to outdamage it. But it does have a couple of things going for it. One, it does get a 110 crit multiplier. So if you actually end up getting a stance strike, you could just get more damage with your opposed. Now, axes don't get good stance damage at all, so it's not going to have the most amazing synergy. But the major benefit that it does have is as an offhand option, because it does boost your roll-based attacks by 10%, and it rolls back with things like the roll medallion as well. So that's basically the only reason why I get to the top 10. I would never really care to use this thing as a damaging option, as a lot of other axes are just going to straight up out passive, plus the passive effect is enough reason for this to be a B10. Number 7, the Death Knight Twin Axes, which is another DLC type of axe in this game, and actually is one of the very few lightning type weapons that also gets a bait scaling as well, which is very cool. It does also get a unique skill in the Blindfold that does have this nice high frame dodging attack, and like a full-on swing attack that can stun most enemies pretty well, do an okay amount of stance damage, and lung in very far. Now, unfortunately, there are going to be a bunch of different downsides for this thing, and it's going to be the reason why it's only going to get into the B tier. The major reason being is that it's an paired axe. So when you two-handed, you do the power sensing combo, and it's not a unique power sensing combo either. So you get stuck with that terrible long axe moveset that is just very clunky, very shit to use, terrible stance damage. It's just not fun or not good at all. If this thing was like a regular single axe, it would just be a better weapon. I also actually got a unique moveset, not more damage and more stance damage too. Like its twin axe version can run in very far, and it can make it more fun to use sometimes, but it just makes it way more consistent. And just overshoots the target a lot of times. But when it does land, if you have things like the multi-hit pass as a crit, it can be a very solid option. But for the most part, I'd like to use the great axe version of this one. Number 6 is the Nest-based Soldier's Axe, which is going to be the last of the DLC axes that we touched on. Now this axe does get some average range, some average damage, but it actually does get the best axe moveset, as it does share the exact same one as the Warp Axe, which actually is going to be the fastest of the bunch. And yes, this thing is even going to be faster than things like Curve Swords and the Hand Axe, and it also just isn't going to have like a damage fall-off or a range fall-off either. So when it comes to like the two-handed line attack combos, this thing can just be amazing to use. But the reason why I still want to only get to the B tier is because the Warp Axe is just better. It gets better scalings and just much better damage. Now, it's not to say that the Nestless Soldier actually is useless by any means, because it actually does get better scalings with pure elemental builds, and the fact that it has lower refinements is pretty cool too. Maybe eventually you have to spec so much strength just to be able to benefit. Now, the thing is, you're required all the way to DLC, where you're probably going to be in a higher level anyway, and the Warp Axe with these elemental infusions actually retain a C scaling strength, whereas the Nestless Soldier's Axe only gets an E scaling. So just going into a little bit of strength and just two-handed the weapon, the Warp Axe is just going to outdamage the Nestless Soldier's Axe every single time when it comes to these elemental builds. So it is a very solid weapon, but in terms of its usefulness, it's going to be very niche. Number 5 is the Skull Warp Axe, which is going to be a very solid early game option. And I think that's about it. Once you get towards like mid or later in the game, it's just going to be outclassed by a plethora of other things. That actually is one of the few weapons that you can acquire in late break that does require Stopper Stones. And with some of those weapons, they can be much easier to upgrade. And the scalings of this thing is pretty decent as well. It's a nice strength and dexterity scaling. The scale is better off that strength stat. And it's to the point where it can get some of the most damage. And in fact, it actually can get the most damage early game because its skill also does buff weapon with 120 more lightning damage. And its passive flat damage in itself is obviously really good to have early game and with weapons that are just really quick. And the skill also does double as like a Stormcaller effect. Basically, it's like a reskin version of that skill. Now, the downsides for this weapon is that the buff is good, but it's still not going to be that good. Things like the Dragon Scale Blade or the Dragon Halberd boost the damage by 160 more lightning damage, and also at Frost, whereas this one is no cost and just 120. And in terms of its skill, Thunderstorm, it's just going to be a worse version than Stormcaller because it just does get less damage. Like putting Stormcaller on a regular axe can just get harder, and obviously you can infuse it, so you can put alongside that Blade infusion, and it's top Blade as well. And you can also put Stormcaller in better weapon classes like a Great Axe or a Great Hammer, and then at that point it's like not even close. And this skill is actually very decent to use, but it's only really going to be good against enemies that can be staggered because it is a very high stun lock, but against larger enemies, you're just going to be stuck in a long animation and you're probably just going to be trading out and you're probably not going to be winning that trade as well. But I still consider it a very high B tier because it is a very solid and easy to up and use over time. Number 4, the Ripple Blade. Now this is a very unique type of axe in this game, as it does get a pure arcane scaling, and it also can be buffed. Now the base damage of this weapon is not high, but this thing actually does get an S scaling arcane, so at higher levels, this thing can get some really decent damage, and it's going to be to the point where it's even comparable to like the Warp Axe with a strength type of build, and it also gets the exact same moveset, which I just mentioned with the Lesnar Soldier's axe. This is the best moveset that the axes can get, because these things are like literally faster than Earth Swords, and it's just going to do more damage too, so it can be a very solid two-handed DPS option. Now the thing is, the Warp Axe can be infused, and this one cannot be infused, so that one just does have more versatility, but the major selling point of the Ripple Blade is that you can buff it, and then pair alongside certain types of elemental greases, like poison, sleep, or bleed grease, being that 3 status effect scale of the arcane set, and this thing gets an arcane scaling, it can stop them very quickly. So not only are you going to get really good damage, but you can also potentially get a really good status effect build up too. Now the unfortunate part is that it mainly benefits of these greases, and greases can be very annoying to farm. It's like in a previous game that you could just like buy a whole bunch of them. And also this weapon just gets stuck with the Wild Strike skill, which is a decent skill, but honestly this R1 spending can just be better even. And also the lockbacks can just get more bleed from up with a bleed infusion and get the exact same moveset and very similar damage. And also have the ability to get infused and change up the different types of skills and these things like Crack Blade and whatnot. And at that point I think the Wolfaxe is a better option. But with an arcane scaling, you're gonna have better synergy with the Dragon Dominion Seal, and I think that type of build style is just going to be better overall. So if you actually want to use spells, I recommend just going with the Ripple Blade. Number 3 is the Iron Saber, which is one of the better strength-based axes in this game. It actually does get the unique light attack combo of a bunch of these down with half chops. Now these ones do seem faster than the regular light attack combo, but they're really not. Maybe like one of the attacks is like a couple frames faster, but for the most part they're basically the exact same speeds. And it's a lot point that I'd rather have the regular axe combos, because having horizontal sides is more consistent in my opinion. But the Iron Saber does get really good damage, and it also does get a unique heavy attack in this cool like little charge animation. Now it might seem a bit gimmicky sometimes because you can just close in the gap with a running attack, but this one just lets you do that in a standstill position without any single type of startup. You can just click and hold onto one button and close in the gap nicely. And obviously heavy attacks are going to do more damage and more stance damage compared to a running heavy attack. And I think it is offers such great utility. There are so many different instances where you just like lead up a boss fight or lead up an engagement just using the charged heavy attack, and it's just a big chunk of damage instantly. Now there are going to be a couple of downsides. One, the motion values of the heavy attacks are just lower than regular ones, so does this result in less damage? And it obviously is a much longer animation. Regular heavy attacks are much quicker. If you actually want to stance very quickly, you're going to do it better with other types of things. So I recommend pairing this alongside like a higher stance damaging type of skill. So if you have these smaller openings, I've used like the big hitting skill, and then use like heavy attack for those situations where you want it to close in the gap. So that's some pretty decent ways to build around the Iron Cleaver. It's not going to get the most amount of damage by any means, but it definitely does have its uses. Number 2 is the Moses Axe, which is one of the more underrated weapons in the entire game in my opinion. This is a very solid strength-based axe. It does get a little bit of an intelligence scaling, but for the most part you're just going all into strength. It is also a unique weapon with a unique skill in Moses Summons, which is a skill that does summon a bunch of skeletons and actually do some decent damage. The skill also does scale on AR as well. And honestly, this skill is extremely efficient. It only consumes like 15 FP, does some decent damage, it stun locks very nicely, and the stagger potential is there as well. Typically axes don't really stagger as large types of enemies like knights or ogres, but this thing can, and you can just keep standing it over and over again. I think the best part about it is that even if you do get staggered, those skeletons are guaranteed to come out. You can like click the button and it'll immediately trigger the skeleton animation. And honestly, the more that you get staggered and the quicker you get staggered, the more you can stand it. And it can result in some very decent DPS. Now it is going to have a couple of downsides. One, it is going to be a close range type of skill with a slightly longer animation. You might end up taking a lot of damage most times if you use it. And these skeletons don't have any tracking. If you fight any like smaller types of enemies that move around a whole lot, it's very rare that you actually do hit them. But honestly, if you haven't already used the Moses Axe, I recommend it to do it. It's very fun. And that's number 1, the Warp Axe, which is like the lone S tier axe in this game, in my opinion. And it kind of just makes almost every single usable axe just useless too, because this thing just gets the most damage and it gets the fastest moveset as well. Like, I don't know how this thing managed to get a combination of both, but yeah, this unique light attack combo that it does get is literally just faster than all the other ones. And this thing gets an S scale in its strength, so it's the highest. And it also does get bonus status effects build up. Like this thing can get like very strong types of bleed with a bleed infusion, and it can also just retain an A scaling in strength. So not only can you get some really good DPS, but you can probably possibly like a lot of different types of weapons in this game. So any single time you go up against enemies ready to bleed, go for bleed infusion, and if not, just stick with a regular strength infusion, and you're just going to be getting insane damage. Just two-hand this bad boy, R1 spam, put on the one side punch rate, or if you wanted to use skills, you could do that too. The only downside is that it does have a higher strength. So if you actually wanted to pair it alongside elemental builds, you are going to have to spec into a decent amount of strength, but it actually isn't going to be wasted stats because even with these elemental builds, it still retains a decent strength skill. So if you actually wanted to have like a strength intelligence or a strength faith type of build, this one could be pretty decent too. It does require a little bit of farming, but once you finish the farm, you probably have a fire defense actually in the entire game. Anyway, that is that's now done. It feels like the more ranking videos we actually make, the harder they actually are to make as well. There are just a bunch of mediocre axes in this game. I'm trying to just rank big weapons are just very hard because they all have such unique uses. So do just let me know what your opinions are and what your findings are down in the comments below. That's the next video. It is going to be the great axes. We're going to rank those from worst to best. And then we'll end up moving along to the hammers and the great hammers and stuff like that. So if that does interest you, please do like and subscribe. And also do follow me on Twitch because I'm live there basically every day doing a bunch of different challenge runs. And that's where I'm going to be testing out all of these different types of weapons too. Anyway, catch you guys around. Bye. Yes, it looks like we're gonna have another incredible work yesterday. Here comes Clark. He scores! He scores! Are you a personal best?
Down over the moat.
The hammers are another disappointing weapon class in this game. These things get pretty poor range, pretty poor damage, not that many weapon skill options, their power sensing movesets are just horrendous, and they also don't really get good stagger damage as well. Like, they get really good stance damage, but their stagger potential is just not there for some reason. Like, you'd think those two things would be synonymous, but they're just not. Like, even power stance katanas can stagger enemies very well, but power sensing hammers are like the most sluggish, slowest moveset that stagger basically nothing. Now, the hammers basically have one good thing going for them, and that's going to be their stance damage. And the best way to actually go on stance where you have to build would be with either charge heavy attacks or guard counter builds. And thankfully for the hammers, they actually get really quick charge heavies or guard counters, both one-handed and two-handed. So if you want to optimally build around their hammer, you're going to have to go into one of these two different options. Unfortunately, if you actually wanted to have like a light attack build, a power dent build, jumping attacks, skill spamming, almost every other weapon class in the game is just going to perform better than the hammers do. I don't know why these movesets haven't really received like a speed increase. Like, they also didn't even get benefited off the recent hype to the uncharged heavy attack changes. But there are a handful of really good hammers in this game. Some of them are going to be in the S tier, as we will get into today, rating the ball 16 of them from worst to best, based on how well they perform and how useful they are in PvE. Starting up at the bottom, the Barbary's Bouquet, which this is potentially the worst weapon in the entire game. This hammer gets some of the worst range in class, and it just gets horrendous damage. Like, this thing at max level plus 10 gets 112 base damage. Which that is quite literally like the worst base damage in the entire game. Even the Smith script dagger gets higher base damage than this dog shit piece of crap. Now, the redeeming factor is that it actually does get passive bleed, gets an arcane scaling, and can be buffed. So you can pair this thing alongside Blood Flame Blade or Bleed Freeze, going for a lot of arcane, and you can buff Bleed really quickly. Now, the thing is, your damage is going to be awful, and you're using a hammer. So with this hammer speed, you're not going to really fucking bleed that fast anyway, and even if you do, that's going to be your only source of damage. Like, bleed is the best status effect in the entire game, but if bleed is your only source of damage, then it's not good. You want to accompany bleed alongside some good damage, because you got to get better synergy with all the bleed types and buffs, and that's what makes it really broken build. And also, another thing about this weapon is that it gets stuck with blood tax. With blood tax, it's an amazing skill, but it's not unique, and why would I want it on a hammer? Like, this thing gets awful range, I'm not going to hit anything with this. I don't know why this thing didn't get some cool flower type of skill, but yeah, I think the only purpose of this weapon actually existing is just to begin with, and that is literally it. Number 15, the mace. Now, for the next few items that we're going to talk about, they all suffer from the exact same problem in that they're just utterly useless. These hammers are just like out-damaged by a lot of other hammers and offer like nothing unique. And even if they do offer something unique, it just makes it a worse version of the other types of hammers. Like, most of the time when it comes to these infusible weapons, I can probably always end up thinking of a reason to justify its use, but for the mace, there is literally nothing I can think of. You would only want to use this weapon because you think it looks cool, and that is it. Because this thing gets some of the worst range, gets some of the worst damage, and as I mentioned with the hammers, the best things about them are going to be their charge heavy attacks or their dart counters, and this thing just gets a really slow charge heavy attack. It gets a unique heavy attack animation, and it's just slower than like the regular heavy attacks. And it doesn't get higher motion values, doesn't get bonus stance damage, it's just like a flat out worse version of a regular hammer. Now, you can get it very early on, but there are other hammers in the game that you're going to acquire very early on, like the Morning Star. This one just gets more damage, gets blade, and gets a better moveset. Number 14, the Curved Club, another completely useless hammer in this game. It gets the average hammer moveset, it gets very mediocre range and damage, and you have to farm for it. And as I mentioned with the regular mace, you can just go use the Morning Star. You can pick this up right at the beginning of the game, down the farm for nothing, and it's going to get more damage, get the better reset, and get bleed. Like, the existence of the Morning Star makes so many other types of hammers just useless, purely because it's just really good, and you can pick it up right at the beginning. Which leads me to number 13, the Regular Club. Now, this one can be the earliest hammer you can acquire because it is of a starting class, and it also does get a unique light attack combo. Now, the thing is, with this unique light attack combo, it's not even faster than a regular hammer light attacks. In fact, for some of the attacks in the combo, it's literally slower, and I would just rather have the regular hammer moveset because that one has horizontal swipes, which is better for hit detection. Now, the first attack is a little bit faster. If you did notice that you have more consistency with this type of moveset, then you could just go use this regular club. Now, the reason why I'm going to put it into the D tier still is because it gets some of the worst damage out of all the other infusible hammers, and the Stone Club exists. Stone Club is basically the exact same thing, but with just much more damage and much more range. The only downside of the Stone Club is that you have to farm for it. So if you didn't want to farm for a weapon and you wanted this light attack combo, you could go with the regular club. But as I mentioned, I think that the normal hammer light attack combos are just better anyway. Number 12, the wall pick. Now, honestly, I wanted to put this thing at the very bottom because no other weapon, no other hammer, really makes me upset as this one. I think the only other weapon in the game that pisses me off more is probably the Greatsword of Radon. And the reason why I'm so mad about this weapon is because it looks so cool. Like, aesthetically speaking, I love hammers, I love the design of this weapon, I like how small and compact it looks. I just think it looks really cool, and it does piercing damage as well. Now, this thing has the potential to be one of my favorite weapons in the entire game, but the thing is, it just hits so many downsides. It gets the worst range and the worst damage out of all infusable hammers, all while retaining the exact same hammer moveset. Like, this thing should have definitely had a boosted speed in terms of its moveset. It should have been like the hand axe for like the regular hammers. Like, you get a lot less range and a lot less damage, but you just get a better light attack combo that actually has decent DPS. Like, this weapon's light attack combo should just be the highest DPS out of all the hammers. It would actually give it such a perfect use. And it would probably even make it an S tier option with how much stance damage hammers can do. Now, the thing is, it actually can be the highest damaging hammer in the game because it does do piercing damage. If you get a counter attack with the Speed Talisman, it can out damage the rest. But the thing is, it's not by much because it has such low AR and low damage. Even if you actually land a counter attack like 80% of the time, which is obviously like basically impossible, it's still not going to out damage some of the best options in the game for that. It's just so upsetting. Like, this thing should have had a much faster moveset. If they just gave the hand axe moveset, this thing would be peak. Like, it was so close. That's number 11, the Monk's Blade Mace. Now, this is actually the lone dexterity-based hammer in this game. So if you wanted a dexterity-based striking option, you could go with something like this. But obviously it does have a very low strength requirement. Now, the thing is, it's still going to be a hammer, and there are like plenty of really good dexterity-based options out there that do striking damage. And honestly, even if it doesn't actually scale based on dexterity, in this game you can just make all these weapons infused into dexterity anyway. And if you wanted a hammer as a primary option, you're just better off going with the other one that scales based on strength, because you can just two-hit them and just get so much more damage. Now, in terms of like the moveset, it is basically identical, except for the heavy attack, which, as I mentioned, is the best part about the hammers because they're really fast and do some high amounts of stance damage. But for whatever reason, with this stupid ass weapon, it gets this goofy ass heavy attack animation. Like, what the fuck is this shit? It just looks stupid, and it's such a long animation to the point where it's not even worth using at all. Like, you use all the other hammers, they're gonna do more damage and keep faster. Like, this thing does get the slightest bit more motion values, but it's still not even noticeable. Don't know why this thing didn't get like a unique skill or actually get like a bonus effect for this heavy attack that then boosts your damage or something like that. I don't know, but this thing is like borderline useless. Number 10, the Scepter of the All-Knowing. Now, this weapon actually does get some of the most range in class, and it does also get the best moveset as well, and it does incorporate a bunch of these poking attacks, the running heavy attack, the rolling attack, and the last light attack in the combo. And these poking attacks actually boost piercing damage too, and it does overall faster than a regular kind of moveset. The weapon also does get a decent dexterity and intelligence-based scaling, and a total overall damage and DPS. Like, one of the skills in this game are so incredibly powerful, so some of these damage-based options are just going to be like the best pairing. Even if you're not going to go with a skill-based build, and you're going to go with things like fast heavy attacks or guard counters, you're always going to be better off using things like Crack Blade or Model Smash Resolve. So using this as a primary option is never going to be that good, and even as a secondary option, it's still not that good either. Only debuffing enemies is taking 10% more damage to magic and holy is not really that big of a difference. Especially because it actually does include a buff onto yourself. Like, I don't know why it has to be self-inflicted too. Like, the skill is very easy to use, it's very easy to apply the debuff, and if you have like an intelligence or dexterity build, you're more likely than not going to have the requirements for this weapon. And if you just use it at the start of every single fight, and you can just do 10% more damage, that probably requires you to hard swap every single time because you don't actually leave it on. So it might be a little bit inconvenient, but it is just going to be more damage in this magic build, which I guess is kind of cool. Now, in terms of the holy debuff, it's obviously not going to be that useful because how often are you going to actually spec into 21 intelligence and 18 dexterity with a build that utilizes holy damage? I don't know why this thing wasn't a catalyst weapon. I don't know why this thing didn't have an intelligence and faith-based scaling. It probably would have made more sense and maybe something a bit more useful, but at least it does have some other use. Number 9 is the Nox Flying Hammer, which is a strength-based hammer that's got a bit of a dexterity scaling. It cannot be infused. You can get some of the worst range. But thankfully, its skill is somewhat useful. Flying form for only 16 FP does extend the hammer's range by like 5 times the amount. And does it into like this massive like whip downward slam attack that does stun on enemies and flatter them to the ground. So against these 4 enemies, it can instead of cheese them and stun them the entire time. And the unfortunate part about this weapon is that 1, it's a long animation, so if you fight enemies that cannot be staggered, you're going to get hit almost every single time. 2, the stance damage is just not good at all. And this thing only gets about 18 stance damage, which is just shit for like a hammer that hits like twice. And for comparison, the Nox Falling Sword, which is a curved sword, gets like a similar type of skill, but it's much faster and it does more stance damage. Like, why does the curved sword version of the Nox weapon get more stance damage than the hammer that hits multiple times and flattens enemies to the ground? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But I think like the worst thing about the weapon is going to be its damage. Like, the damage just sucks. Which is also true to the Nox's flowing sword. It feels like both these weapons should have been able to get buffed, because these are the strength and dexterity based weapons and there's no infusible option, so letting these things have the ability to get buffed would have been really useful, but even then, if that was the case, I would still rather just go with the curved sword. Number 8, the Ringed Finger, which is another strength-based hammer that cannot be infused. Now this one actually does get to the most range in class, and it definitely is very noticeable. Its total overall damage is pretty decent. A lot of the other infusible hammers are going to out-damage it, but this thing also does retain a pretty decent dexterity scaling, so at these really high levels it can get some decent amount of AR. It does also get the regular hammer moveset, and for some reason it gets striking damage. I kind of wish this thing got like both striking and piercing damage, because it does have like a little bit of a fingernail, which yes, is disgusting, but I feel like it should be doing piercing damage. But in terms of its skill, Claw Flick for only 14 FP, it does like make the finger like go really large and girthy that it like flicks enemies away. And this actually can like stun block smaller enemies and can send them flying too. Now thankfully it actually does do some decent damage and do 30 stance damage, so it is just going to be a much better version of the Nox's flowing hammer. Now the unfortunate part is it does not have that good of range and it is a longer animation. It does get some good hype armor, so if you actually are struggling with some types of enemies and reading their movesets, you could potentially trade out with this. But the thing is, I think that's its only use, just like being able to cheese like smaller, quicker types of enemies. Because otherwise, I would just rather go with a charged heavy attack. The charged heavy attack literally does like 10 more stance damage and a much faster animation, and you can potentially do more damage as well. And if you are going to go with a charged heavy attack, going with the infusible hammers are just going to be the better option. If this thing did get some piercing damage, I might consider it a bit more useful. Or if this skill actually had more stance damage than the heavy attack, it would be pretty cool too. But unfortunately, a B tier is the highest I can go. Number 7, the hammer, just the normal regular hammer, and unironically, if you just wanted a regular normal hammer experience, this is the option for you. Out of all the infusible hammers, it gets the most range, and it gets some of the most damage, and you don't have to farm for it as well, all while retaining the normal regular hammer moveset. So if you don't care about farming weapons, you don't care about status effect builds, you don't care about these fancy movesets, just go with this regular hammer. Like, this is the best option. It's reliable, it's great, you can't go wrong with it. There's basically nothing bad I can say about it. Now, optimally speaking, I'd rather just go with the other options that can just do more damage or actually get bleed as a passive effect, despite its less range. But yeah, this thing is perfectly fine. It's just a hammer. Like, I don't know. Number 6, the Envoy's Horn, which is a holy-based hammer. Does actually get a C scaling in strength, dexterity, and faith. Does scale best up that strength stat. But I do recommend going for a lot of faith, because that is what the skill actually scales on. In Powerful Bubble, for only 6 FP, it just shoots out like a singular bubble, and it's like a slow-moving, tracking projectile. And the thing is, if you stack it with all these different types of holy damaging buffs and have a lot of faith, this thing can actually do some very decent damage. And for a projectile that's easy to use, very cheap, pretty quick, and has some nice tracking, it's going to chase a lot of different types of bosses. It's not going to be the most amazing DPS by any means. But as I always mentioned, projectiles just beat the game, especially to have good tracking like this. You can sit at from the distances and just keep picking enemies off one at a time, or just kill bosses without even having to engage with them. Like, this thing is honestly really good, and the reason why I'm not going to put it any higher and it's only going to get a lower A tier is because it is still split holy damage, which despite it being a lot better in the DLC, in the base game you are going to notice that you're just lacking a lot of damage, and there are a bunch of different like faith-based projectiles out there that can be almost just as easy to use, but just can do a bunch more damage. But honestly, if you haven't already used the Envoy's Horn, I recommend that you do. It's actually pretty good. Number 5, the Morning Star. Now this is a very solid early game option. You can pick it up right at the beginning of the game, and the existence of the Morning Star just makes almost every other infeasible hammer just useless, because this thing actually does get some very solid base damage, gets passive bleed. But yeah, I just recommend picking up the Morning Star basically every single playthrough, because there's very plenty of times that you end up going for like an early game dungeon or catacombs and fight these miners or undead enemies, and you feel like you need striking damage, and then you can just like switch to the Morning Star. And honestly, it can perform very well throughout the entire game as well. Now it's not going to be the highest damage hammer by any means, and it can be directly outclassed by the Spikes Club, because that is another passive blade hammer, but that one can just get more range and more damage, and it's more damage and charged heavy attack, so it kind of just directly outclasses it. But the Morning Star does have a couple of uses. One, as I mentioned, you don't have to farm first, you can just pick it up right at the beginning, and 2, it actually does have the best moveset. The Morning Star does the same moveset as the set of the Unknown, and then it gets the poking attack moveset. Those running heavy attacks come out really fast, and it actually do piercing damage as well. The weapon actually doesn't state it in the description, but all of these poking attacks actually do piercing damage, which is obviously great for variety. And every single one of these pokes, the running heavy, the rolling attack, the last light attack, and the combo, they just all come out much faster with regular hammer attacks. So if you are a person that does do a lot of like running attacks or rolling attacks, I honestly recommend this going with the Morningstar. As I did mention, if you are going to build around hammers, I'm going to mention this a couple more times, you probably want to go with a charged heavy attack build or a guard cannon build. And in that case, you just bring up going with another type of hammer that just gets more damage. Number 4, the Spiked Club. Now, as I mentioned with the Morningstar, this one just directly outclasses it in terms of damage, range, and also its heavy attack. Now, the downside is that you do have to farm for it, but it is not that hard of a farm. A lot of demi-humans do drop it. And if you actually wanted to have a bleed-based hammer, go with a cold infusion or go with a heavy infusion with blood, sweat, and blade and pop bleed pretty quickly, I'd recommend us going with this, especially if you are going to go with a charged heavy attack build, because the Spiked Club actually does get a unique charged heavy attack. It does actually get some weird diagonal slaps with some funny animation, but the thing is, this is literally faster than a regular charged heavy attack that the normal hammers get, and it actually gets bonus motion values to it actually does more damage as well. It's not that much more, but it actually can make it out damage a lot of other hammers, and obviously just doing it faster, which is really good. Now the reason why I'm not going to put it into the S tier is because unfortunately it's a hammer, so it's not going to be able to proc status effects that quickly. The movesets are not that fast, and if you're going to go with charged heavy attack builds or guard countering builds, you're not going to really be hitting that many times. So that means you're not going to really be benefiting much off that bleed. You probably end up proccing bleed at least like one time for every single boss fight, which obviously is very handy, but it's not going to proc bleed anywhere near as quickly as some of the other options in this game. So honestly, in the long run, if you actually wanted to go with a charged heavy attack build or a guard kind of build, I recommend just going with the Stone Club, which the Stone Club is going to be as number 3. This is the best infusible hammer in my opinion. It does get some of the most range, and it gets the most damage out of all the infusible hammers in basically every single infusion. And with hammer's amazing stance breaking potential, you're going to get lots of critical attacks up, and going with these like elemental builds with really high amounts of AR means you're just going to get lots of damage off these critical attacks. So the Stone Club is just going to be the best option for that. Now it actually does share the exact same light attack combo as the regular club. Now as I did mention, I don't really like this light attack combo more so than the regular hammer, because the speeds are basically identical, but the regular hammer gets horizontal swipes, which is better for hit detection or potentially hitting multiple enemies at once. It's honestly not that big of a difference, and the Stone Club does actually swing a bit faster on the first initial attack, which might be the most important one, but as I've been mentioning with hammers, the best way to build around them is with charged heavy attacks or guard counters, and the Stone Club is just going to be that one for you. It's not going to be a faster heavy attack than the Spiked Club, but it's not that much slower, and it just does a lot more damage. And also, if you are going to go with the deflecting build, this one actually has great synergy because it does have the best blocking amongst all the infusible hammers. And with how fast these guard counters are and how much stance damage they do, it makes for a very solid pairing. So yeah, good old crack blade infused Stone Club, just putting rocks on top of your rocks and it's like bulking everything. Unironically, is an S tier option in this game. Number 2 is the Flowerstone Gavel. Now, when the DLC did come out and this weapon was released, I wasn't that big on it because I really wished that it had like some split lightning damage and a faith-based scaling. I was like convinced that it would just be better with that because it would have better synergy with the lightning-based spells, because the skill of the weapon can debuff enemies to make them take more lightning damage. But I did just recently do an Ash of War only run with this weapon, and honestly now I'm convinced that it actually is better with an arcane scaling than it actually is with a faith-based scaling. And I will actually explain this, but to start off with, it actually is a piercing damaging hammer. It does just get the regular hammer moveset, which obviously, as I always mentioned, piercing damage is like the best damage type in the entire game. So obviously this like makes it better than like a regular hammer already. I don't know why I didn't get the poking attack moveset like the Morningstar has. It would have made like a lot of sense to have like these running poking heavies or like the poking rolling attack. Would have made the animation a little bit faster, but it still gets piercing damage, which is nice. It does get a split arcane and strength based scaling. It does scale pretty much evenly on both. So if you actually wanted to go into a pure arcane build, you can do that and retain some pretty respectable damage. And in terms of its skill, Flower Dragon Bolt, it shoots out a high damaging red lightning projectile attack that tracks right towards the enemies, and it actually does debuff them to make them take more lightning damage too. Using the uncharged version makes them take 12% more damage, and the fully charged version makes them take 17% more damage, and they both do last 20 seconds. And the thing is, this projectile can just like cheese all of the enemies. It's a relatively quick cast, it's cheap, it does incredible damage. Like this thing is comparable to the Bolt of Grand Sax in terms of damage, and the fact that it tracks right towards the enemy means that it has like instant travel speed. Like enemies just don't really dodge or input with this thing at all. Now the reason why I value this thing so much with an arcane build is because it gives you a lightning damaging option with an arcane build. So if you're going to go predominantly into arcane, go to about like 15 faith, so you can actually use all the dragon communion spells. You're going to have access to fire damage, magic, physical, and now you can have lightning damage too. And the thing is, the projectile of this skill is that good to the point that you don't even need to have any other lightning attack. attack. This thing is that good to where it can be your primary lightning option. Now, ironically, one of the best things about the weapon as well is going to be its requirements. It gets such low requirements, only 15 arcane. So if you actually wanted to benefit of using this alongside your Faith build, you can. You just got to spec into only 15 arcane, and you can just use this skill fully charged at the beginning of the boss fight, and then things like your physical, and I did wish I actually had that poking moveset, but other than that, it is like a definitive S tier weapon. And at number 1, the Maracas Hammer, my personal favorite weapon in the entire game. And it's purely because this thing just like looks badass and it's not my favorite boss. And hammers and like holy damage are like my favorite things in the game. They don't really like me back and they're not that good, but they're just really cool looking. But thankfully the Maracas Hammer is actually peak as well. It is a primarily strength-based weapon. It does get a bit of a faith-based scaling, but when jumping around this thing, you just go all into strength. It does just get the regular kind of movesets. And once again, I kind of wish this thing got the poking movesets like the Morningstar gets, with the running heavy attacks poke and the rolling poking attack. But when Radagon used the weapon, he actually gets poking attacks, so I don't know why he didn't. But yeah, the best thing about the weapon and the reason why it's going to be a very high ST is going to be because of its skill of Gold Breaker. This thing for 26 FP just basically fucks up the entire game. You become airborne, a way to get infinite high drop. You basically never get staggered out of it, come crashing to the ground in a massive AoE that sends smaller enemies flying, does amazing damage, does some decent stance damage, and if you actually keep this thing at point blank range, it does over 40 stance damage, which is like more than like a Colossal Sword and Lightning Spore. Like this thing is just insane. Like it cheeses all types of smaller trash mobs, and it cheeses bosses as well. Any single time you walk into a room, you can spend the skill, everything's dead, don't fight a boss, trade out, they're gonna die too. And the fact that you actually do become airborne means you actually can jump over certain types of attacks as well, which is pretty cool. Now it does have a slightly longer animation, so you actually might end up trading out a whole bunch. But you actually do move pretty quickly, so there will be some cases where you actually can just dodge attacks, and the recovery frames are also pretty quick too. So it's not like it's that risky of a skill to use. And you might be thinking because it does holy damage, it might be useless in the base game, but the skill is actually mainly doing physical damage. It scales off your AR, so it's going all into strength, it's just mainly going to do physical damage. So yes, for me, definitively, this is the best hammer in the entirety of Elden Ring. Okay, that is the list now completed. As always, let me know what your opinions are down in the comments below. The next ranking video is going to be the flails. Oh boy, that's going to be a fun one. There's not going to be many, so it's probably going to be that long of a video. And then we're going to do the great times afterwards. So first things do, please do like and subscribe. And yeah, catch you guys around. Bye.
Star-Lord, man, he has this way of getting under your skin, you know? Like a bug bite that just won't go away.
Indeed. And it proved to be quite effective, as Vader's growing frustration and pride was all a part of Star-Lord's ploy. He made Vader believe he had him all figured out. Testing's ready to begin, all day, every day.
Let's begin.
Then, without further ado, it's time to duel.
Duels.
Well, look what the dark side spat out.
You dare speak to me like that, boy. Boy, please. You're a relic from a dying franchise, old man. The galaxy doesn't need your kind anymore.
You act as if you have a choice in the matter. The Empire will always keep the cosmos and insects like you shall always crushed under our feet.
Spare me the cringy, evil monologues, thank you. And why do you still sound like a broken vacuum cleaner? Doesn't the Empire offer health care for that?
Healthcare is for cowards and weaklings who have so little faith in their own power that they cling to such a crutch.
Wow. I knew the Empire was evil, but I didn't realize it was that stupid.
No, stupid. The enemy was involved with innocent like you in the battle.
Right, because your strategy of choke your own guys when upset has proven to be oh so effective. How's that looking out for team morale, Dark Chocolate?
So as well as the planning to stop Thanos after you kidnapped your girlfriend that ended with you crying like a bitch after you found out she was dead.
Oh, you did not just go there.
And what exactly do you plan on doing about it if I did?
Stick around and find out, you overgrown asthmatic tin can.
And he's allowed his emotions to get the better.
Oh my God.
Crushing him at this thing will be as effortless as what I did to that ball of fool.
I heard that, Anakin.
Good. I want to know you were going to decline to what it is to know.
Okay, now you listen here, you...
Hold that thought. I must deal with this imbecile first.
If you're done dozing off into space, old man, I'll kick this shit off. And since I have no monsters present on the field, I'm allowed to special summon photon draggers. And since I've got a photon monster on the field, I can also special summon photon advancer. Get ready, you old bag of bolts, because I'm about to give your circuits a full reset as I overlay my photon advancer with my thrasher. I XP summon Starless Lord Galactus.
How cute. It's only fitting that a monster named after you will be so underwhelming.
Oh, don't be too sure, big guy. You might be surprised at what it can do, because now I'm activating Galaxian's special ability, allowing me to discharge both of its overlay units in order to call forth my galaxy-eyed photon dragon.
Careful now. It would be wise not to exhaust yourself prematurely, though I suppose that's a common issue for you.
You sure have a lot to say for a guy with the emotional range of a toaster oven, but I'll be more than happy to shut you up soon enough as I throw this card face down and end my turn. Hopefully that angst boy thinks I've lost my temperament and let his guard down.
Might as well. Maybe a fool, but it appears that you still somewhat upsetting with his dragon's battle protection effect attacking it with enormous, while his weaker monster is clearly shielded by that face down. Unfortunately for him, however, I'm about to tear through his defense like a hot lightsaber through a tauntaun's belly. I summon Cosmo Wicked Witch and attack mode, and with her special ability by banishing her from the field, I can special summon Cosmo Slip Rider. Now, since Cosmo Slip Rider was summoned, I can eradicate a spell or trap on the field. So I'm choosing to rid you of that face down you have there.
Now who's the one acting prematurely?
What?
I'm activating the trap, Solemn Strike. Now, by paying 1,500 life points, I can negate that knockoff Bowie's effect and destroy it. Oh, would you look at that? You're all alone again, just like always, Hundar.
Am I though?
I mean, yeah, kinda. I know it's hard to see under that bucket you wear on your head, but your field is pretty empty, pal.
Clearly not as empty as that thing that occupies your skull, as you seem to not be aware of what Slip Rider is destroyed. Its ability allows me to banish it from my grave in order to summon a level 4 Cosmo monster from my deck. So say hello to Cosmo Goodwitch. And with that face down now out of the way, it's the perfect opportunity to equip my witch with Cosmo Lightning, granting her a bonus of 500 extra attack points.
Well, shit.
Battle. Now Goodwitch, eradicate this collapse. I'm getting a bit homesick, so I'll be changing the scene a bit with my field spell, Cosmo Town. And with its glorious power, I can retreat my bench Slip Rider by paying a small cost for some life points.
It figures you bring that piece of junk back in the scrapyard.
What can I say? I'm rather sad and excited. But let's get back to your inevitable defeat, shall we? I'll place this card face down and allow you the chance to continue resisting.
Oh, gee, I'm so honored. All right, keep it cool, Pimp Daddy. He may be leading in life points, but you've still got the strongest monster on the field. That might not matter with those annoying Cosmo effects he's got in his back pocket. I'll be a sitting duck if he springs those on me first. So let's flip the switch.
Is wasting my time a part of your strategy, or is it that you're decades empty of answers and reminders of intelligence.
Actually, I was just wondering if you always talk this much before losing, or is it just your way of compensating for that oversized ego?
Oh, that's rich stuff with the highest fear. But working out, as I have more than 100 ways of drawing that fear onto the surface.
Funny you should mention that, because I'm activating the spell Galaxy 100. And thanks to this, I can now send a Photon or Galaxy card straight from my deck to my grave. And since the card I sent was Photon Emperor, its special ability allows me to special summon it onto the field in defense position. Make sure that helmet of yours is screwed on tight, Dorothy, because you won't want to miss when I overlay my Emperor with my Photon Dragon in order to bathe the cosmos with the radiant glow of number 90. Galaxy Eye Photon Lord.
I was hoping you would, because I'll now be bathing the cosmos with the blood of your monsters who triggered my trap, Cosmosis.
Oh no.
Oh, yes. Now thanks to this card, by sacrificing my crystals, I can banish your Photon Lord to the deepest pits of hell where it belongs.
That's a bit dramatic, don't you think?
You should be less worried about my choice of words and more concerned about pronounced defenseless fear. And your pathetic circumstances.
This is far from over.
Of course it is. You haven't suffered nearly enough. And this card will certainly help with that. First, I'll be activating Cosmo Town's effect once more in order to retrieve my banished witch. Next, I'll be activating the spell Dark Allure. And with this, I can draw 2 cards from my deck as long as I banish a dark monster from my hand. Now say hello to my wicked witch once more. So you get a chance to get acquainted. Let's fix that, shall we?
Just throwing this out there, but I'm not entirely against pegging, but I prefer you to be a bit gentle. What? It'd be kind of rude to not at least set some boundaries, right?
Your depravity knows no bounds, does it?
Nah, not really. I mean, there was this one time me and Rocket were stuck in this wormhole for about 2 months. There wasn't much to do, so
I'm going to enjoy this far more than I should. Wicked Witch, silence him.
that kind of stung a bit. But if that's all you've got, your witch might need to get some new toys.
Oh, I'm quick you are to forget quick. But I'll gladly re-educate you as I activate Wicked Witch's ability to banish herself in order to bring out Cosmo Slip Rider once more. And just like before, Slip Rider's ability after being summoned allows me to purge Resident spell. Now Slip Rider, finish what Wicked Witch started.
Okay, that one hit a lot closer to home.
Honesty looks good on you, Quick. It's just a shame your other teachers don't match it. Yeah. Go on. Show me something else that will amuse me.
Oh, I've got something that'll really tickle your funny bone. I just hope I can draw the right card and just to pull it off. Here goes nothing. That's what I'm talking about. Usually I'd bust out some sick move right about now, but that can wait after I show Dark Gleaming over there how to get down to space. I'll place this card face down on the field and pass it back to you.
Pathetic. All that is boasting, and yet you fail to act on it. You are no leader. You're just a fool who has to be reminded of his place in the pecking order.
You finished? Because there's still plenty of time left for me to put my foot in your ass.
With what? Your face down cannot stop me.
Now who's the one not being honest with themselves?
What are you babbling about?
You said before that honesty looks good on me. Well, sorry, but your ugly mug just can't seem to pull it off.
How long will you continue to spew nonsense from your mouth?
What can I say, man? It's just in my DNA. You should be glad you get front row tickets.
The only seat I'll give you is in the back row of a graveyard. You seem to be placing a great deal of faith in that face down of yours. Allow me to personally crush that faith and show you true despair as I activate Cosmo Town's effect once more. So return to me, my wicked witch. Now, by banishing both my witch and my dark eclipse as sacrifices, I can call forth the greatest and most powerful Cosmo monster in existence, Cosmo Dark Flesh.
Holy shit.
Magnificent. But its overwhelming power is the least of your concerns, as Cosmo Darkland cannot be targeted by any of your card effects. And if you try to destroy my Slip Rider, don't forget its effect will bring forth another Cosmo monster. No matter what you try, Will, your fate is sealed.
I've been in worse situations than this, pal.
Perhaps. But how many times can you cheat death before it cleans you permanently?
Guess there's only one way to find out, huh?
For once, you agree. Now, Dark Planet, finish him off.
You might have all that power you like to throw around it, but you know what you don't have?
Generalization music.
A squad, a family. All you have are just a bunch of scared lackeys who you control from fear.
And what else?
Well, maybe it's time you learn what it means to have friends who've got your back. I activate my trap. Internal command.
Never heard of it.
Then clean out the wax in your ears, because this will blow your mind. Now with this trap, I can bring back as many photon monsters in my graveyard as I want. So say hello again to Photon Emperor, Galaxy-Eyed Photon Dragon, Photon Advance, and Photon Thrasher. Their effects may be negated as a cost of the trap, but they're still more than capable of blocking your attacks.
If the extent of these bonds you speak of is just to act as glorified heat shields, then I'm glad I abandoned such a worthless sentiment. Now Dark Planet vaporizes Dragon. Slip Rider, destroy that fake hammer. I'll set this card face down and end my round. You bought yourself another turn, Quill. Use it wisely, because it's the last one you'll get.
You're right, it will be. But not in the way you think.
Oh, you talk as if this scenario is exactly what you wanted.
You catch on quick for a guy with a metal skull. Everything's done according to plan.
You, the plan. A fool like you couldn't let an orgy in a hole.
By first activating the effective Galaxy Soldier, allowing me to discard a light monster in my hand in order to special summon it. And when Galaxy Soldier is special summoned, I can retrieve a Galaxy monster straight to my hand. Now, since I control a Photon monster on the field, I can summon my Galaxy Knight without having to contribute any monsters. And since Galaxon Thrasher was my Photon Advancer, I exceed summon Scarlet's Photon Blast Dragon. But he's just the appetizer, as I'll be serving you the main course by overlaying my Galaxy Knight with my Photon Dragon, in order to bring forth my own heavyweight that will illuminate your darkness. Number 62, Galaxy-Eyed Prime Photon Dragon.
Damn. Impressive. It appears we have ourselves a galactic standoff.
I don't think so. Our monsters may appear to be equal in strength, but my Prime Photon Dragon's got a power that'll blow your dark planet straight to Pluto.
Enlighten me on this power you speak of, so I can watch as your monster fails to live up to its standard.
I thought you'd never ask. Now, Prime Photon Dragon, attack Cosmo Dark Planet, and with my dragon's special ability, I'll
Use an old blade unit in order to boost its attack based on the combined rank of all received monsters on the field. Am I wrong?
You know about its special ability?
But of course, in the art of war, the outcome of a battle is decided before the first blow is even struck. I studied and analyzed your strongest monsters and their attacks meticulously. So I'm already fully aware of your dragon's little power boost.
Don't tell me that face-down card is
You should know better than to ask such stupid questions. I activate Psychic Fervor, allowing me to double Dark Planet's attack points by taking damage equal to its original attack points. It's like I told you, Will. Honesty becomes you. And the look of despair on your face right now is simply divine. Now die.
I can't believe you actually fell for that.
I beg your damn pardon.
I knew the only way you'd fall for my little trick would be if you were overconfident, so I did a bit of acting to get you to go for the bait of powering up your monster. And it worked like a charm.
You're bluffing.
Afraid not, Darcy. It's like you said, right? Honesty looks great on me, and it'll look even better when I activate the effect of Honest from my hand.
Not that.
And you know what that means. My Prime Photon Dragon can snatch all the attack points of your dark planet for itself, to bring its total attack to 12,000.
You worthless scum. How dare you trick me?
Be able to give yourself, Vader. You trick yourself. And since you're so familiar with my dragon's special ability, why don't I activate it just for you, as I use one overlay unit to raise my dragon's attack to 14,000.
I do not allow a failure like you to best me. Do you know who I am?
I don't give a shit who you are. Now wipe out his life points, Prime Photon Dragon with Eternity Photon Stream.
Wow. And there you have it.
Leaning over. There, how we get down in space. I'll place this card face down on the field and pass it back to you.
Pathetic. All that boasting, and yet you fail to act on it. You are no leader. You're just a fool who has to be reminded of his place in the pecking order.
You finished? Because there's still plenty of time left for me to put my foot in your ass.
With what? A mere face down cannot stop me.
Now who's the one not being honest with themselves?
What are you babbling about?
You said before that honesty looks good on me. Well, sorry, but your ugly mug just can't seem to pull it off.
How long will you continue to spew nonsense from your mouth?
What can I say, man? It's just in my DNA. You should be glad to get front row tickets.
They only see our victims in the back row of a graveyard. You seem to be placing a great deal of faith in that face down of yours. Allow me to personally crush that faith and show you true despair as I activate Cosmo Town's effect once more. So return to me my wicked wish. Now I'm banishing both my wish and my dark eclipser as sacrifices. I can call forth the greatest and most powerful Cosmo monster in existence. Cosmo Dark Flesh.
Holy shit!
Magnificent, isn't it? But its overwhelming power is the least of your concerns, and Cosmo Dark Planet cannot be targeted by any of your card effects. And if you try to destroy my slip line, don't forget its effect will bring forth another Cosmo monster. No matter what you try, Quill, your face is sealed.
I've been in worse situations than this, pal.
Perhaps. But how many times can you cheat death before it clings you permanently?
Guess there's only one way to find out, huh?
For once, we agree. Now, Dark Planet, finish him off.
You might have all that power you like to throw around, but you know what you don't have?
Terrible taste in music.
A squad, a family. All you have are just a bunch of scared laughs who you control from fear.
And what of it?
Well, maybe it's time you learn what it means to have friends who've got your back. I activate my trap. Eternal Bond.
Never heard.
Then clean out the wax in your ears, because this will blow your mind. Now with this trap, I can bring back as many photon monsters in my graveyard as I want. So say hello again to Photon Emperor, Galaxy-Eyed Photon Dragon, Photon Advancer, and Photon Thrasher. Their effects may be negated as a cost of the trap, but they're still more than capable of blocking your attacks.
If the extent of these bonds you speak of is just to act as glorified heat shields, then I'm glad I abandoned such a worthless sentiment. Now Dark Planet vaporizes dragons. Slip Rider, destroy that fake Emperor. I'll set this card face down and end my round. You bought yourself another turn, Quill. Use it wisely because it's the last one you'll get.
You're right, it will be. But not this way you think.
Oh, you talk as if this scenario is exactly what you wanted.
You catch on quick for a guy with a metal skull. Everything's done according to plan.
You, the plan. A fool like you couldn't plan an orgy at 4.
I first activating the effective Galaxy Soldier, allowing me to discard a light monster in my hand in order to special summon it. And when Galaxy Soldier is special summoned, I can retrieve a Galaxy monster straight to my hand. Now, since I control a photon monster on the field, I can summon my Galaxy Knight without having to tribute any monster. And since Galaxy Knight was summoned this way, its special ability allows me to bring back an old friend, Galaxy-Eyed Photon Dragon.
I'm getting really tired of seeing that mess.
And I'm tired of listening to you talk. So let's shut you up with a good old disease summon as I overlay my Photon Thrasher with my Photon Advancer. I exceed summon. Scarlet's Photon Blast Dragon. But he's just the appetizer, as I'll be serving you the main course by overlaying my Galaxy Knight with my Photon Dragon in order to bring forth my own heavyweights that will illuminate your darkness. Number 62, Galaxy-Eyed Prime Photon Dragon.
There. Impressive. It appears we have ourselves a galactic standoff.
I don't think so. Our monsters may appear to equal in strength, but my Prime Photon Dragon's got a power that'll blow your dark planet straight to Pluto.
Enlighten me of this power to speak of, so I can watch if your monster fails to live up to its name.
I thought you'd never ask. Now, Prime Photon Dragon, attack Cosmo Dark Planet, and with my dragon's special ability, I'll
Use an overlay to boost its attack based on the combined rank of all exceed monsters on the field. Am I wrong?
You know about its special ability?
But of course, in the art of war, the outcome of the battle is decided before the first blow is struck. I've studied and analyzed your strongest monsters and their effects meticulously. so I'm already fully aware of your dragon's little power boost.
Don't tell me that face-down card
You should know better than to ask such stupid questions. I activate Psychic first, allowing me to double Dark Planet's attack points by taking damage equal to its original attack point. It's like I told you, honesty becomes you, and the look of despair on your face right now is simply divine. Now done.
I can't believe you actually fell for that.
I didn't make your damn Martin.
I knew the only way you'd fall for my little trick would be if you were overconfident, so I did a bit of acting to get you to go for the bait of powering up your monster, and it worked like a charm.
You're bluffing.
Afraid not, Darby. It's like you said, right? Honesty looks great on me, and it'll look even better when I activate the effect of Honest from my hand.
Not that.
And you know what that means. My Prime Photon Dragon can snatch all the attack points of your Dark Planet for itself, to bring its total attack to 12,000.
You worthless scum. How dare you trick me?
Be honest with yourself, Vader. You tricked yourself. And since you're so familiar with my dragon's special ability, why don't I activate it just for you, as I use one overlay unit to raise my dragon's attack to 14,000.
I do not allow a failure like you to best me. Do you know who I am?
I don't give a shit who you are. Now wipe out his life points, Prime Photon Dragon.
Yes, on the Celebrity World Championship. But I should inform you that unlike my defeat,
He won!
What the hell do you mean Obama lost?
Yes, sir, it's true. Mr. Barack Obama lost to Ultron in the semi-finals of the tournament.
You better not be f***ing with me, Jupiter.
My name is Samir, sir.
Does it look like I give a shit? Now get out of my sight before I have you recorded.
I already have my visa, you fat son of a...
Come again?
Nothing.
Why don't you relax, Trump? You should be happy that Ultron eliminated your biggest threat.
And just what the hell is there to be happy about? The only reason I even started this tournament was to get my revenge and humiliate that bastard in front of the entire world.
Would you just calm down already? The way I see it, if Obama wasn't good enough to make it to the finals on his own, then he wasn't worth your time anyway. Don't lose sight of your objective. You want to show the entire world that you're the #1 duelist on the planet, don't you?
Of course I do. But I had set everything up perfectly for our rematch. I spent more time studying his deck than I did running this damn country. You expect me to just throw that all away?
Not at all. Who says the main tournament is the only way you'll have a chance to duel him?
What are you babbling about?
You still have the loser's bracket, do you not? It's the perfect opportunity for Obama to redeem himself and claw his way back to the finals. And if he does, and you beat him there, wouldn't that be even better?
Holy shit, you're right. Wow. You really are a genius, aren't you, Kyler?
I mean, I did take over a multi-billion-dollar corporation when I was still a child, after all.
You mean when you extorted your father for all his assets and manipulated your kid brother?
Exactly. Business and dueling are no different, and both require you to be ruthless, sometimes even to the ones you cherish most.
God, am I glad we found each other. Now let's get to work on that loser's tournament.
Excuse me, sir.
Didn't I tell you to get lost, you Pinder?
Yes, you certainly did. But Mr. Barack Obama would like to speak to you, sir.
Obama? What the hell does that loser want?
Perhaps he's come to grovel at your feet and beg for a second chance.
Yeah, I seriously doubt that. Still, he should be thanking his lucky stars because he is about to get a second chance. Now let him in.
Well, Gar, I gotta say, you've made some real progress here. I've noticed you haven't force-choked any of your subordinates in over a week. That's quite the accomplishment.
It's been difficult, Doctor. The temptation is strong, especially with the incompetence I deal with on a daily basis.
I get that. But remember what we talked about. When you feel the urge to lash out, what do?
Take a deep breath. And remember that I must not inflict onto others what I wouldn't inflict on myself.
Exactly. You're not just a Sith Lord, Darth. You're a leader. And leaders don't rule through fear all the time, do they?
I suppose not. But I fear the debt I owe to Darkseid has made me rather unhinged. You do not understand what he is capable of.
Well, he's not here right now, is he? I'm sure that if you approach him with a calm and reasonable apology, he'll forgive you.
Do you honestly believe that?
I have to, Dark. Otherwise, I might have chosen the wrong profession.
I see. Well, let's hope you're right. Because I can't think of another way to get that galactic pain in the ass off my back.
Lord Vader, I have urgent news.
How dare you interrupt this important meeting, you worthless little insect.
Now, Dark, remember what we just talked about?
Fine. Speak, soldier.
Yes, sir. They're just about to announce the losers tournament. It's a second chance for a defeated duelist to win a special prize. There's a chance you might be able to clear your debt.
A special prize, you say? Interesting. It seems the gods have not forsaken me just yet. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for, Doctor.
Now, hold on, Dark. Let's not forget all the work we've done here. Are you sure this is the best move for your growth? You've been making real strides, and
my growth can wait. Clearing my debt is far more important. I must act now.
Well, this was a complete waste of time.
Sorry about that, Doctor. I know you mean well, but he's a Sith Lord for a reason. He'll never change who he is. But it is a lot of debt to deal with.
I just feel bad for all of you that work under someone like that. Have you ever considered starting a union?
We did a long time ago. As you can imagine, it didn't go well. If I didn't go well, I mean, they're all dead.
Oh my God.
But hey, it could be worse. At least we don't work under Ellen DeGeneres.
Good point.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jenna Starlight reporting to you live once again as I'll be filling in for my cousin, Tom Lively, for this special side event before the Celebrity World Championship Finals. Joining me for commentary on these special duels once more is my good friend Dr. Phil. How are you feeling today, Doctor?
I'm going to be honest with you, Jenna, not that great. I spent the last few days trying to get through to a certain Sith Lord, and it all just went up in smoke because of this loser's tournament.
I'm sorry to hear that, Doctor. But here's how it'll work. Our automated randomizer will select 2 of the 14 duelists you see before you to kick off our special event and perhaps showcase something they couldn't before they were eliminated. And to incentivize the defeated duelists, the winner of each of these matches will receive a wonderful prizes provided by our sponsors. Sounds pretty exciting, doesn't it, Doctor?
Absolutely, Jenna. I'd love to get back in the ring and show off some more combos I've been working on. I'm curious, though, does this mean that the winner of this tournament will have a chance to re-enter the main tournament?
I was informed by someone higher up that there were initial plans to have that happen. But Trump changed his mind this morning and decided that this tournament will have no influence over the main tournament.
Huh. That's quite the odd decision. I was certain that the only reason he was doing this was to have another chance to take down Obama.
I was as well, but the inner workings of our boss remains a mystery. Besides, we're still getting paid, so who cares?
We don't, I'll tell you that.
Damn straight. But enough talk. Let's get to it, shall we? Our randomizer will now show us the first duelist.
What the hell? That can't be a coincidence.
I mean, low as the chances might be, it's still well within the realm of possibility. But what? Do you think your Sith Lord did something behind the scenes?
I wouldn't put it past him, Jenna, but honestly, I think he deserves a second chance to pay off his debt, and I'll be rooting for him.
That's rather sweet of you, Doctor. Now let's find out who Darth Vader shall be dueling.
Now this will be a good match. A former Jedi turned Sith Lord up against a culinary drill sergeant from hell. I can't even imagine how toxic this is going to get.
As someone who's been around him lately and even dueled against him, how do you think Vader will approach this match?
Well, Jenna, I've been teaching Vader the act of self-restraint, so I'm expecting him to take a more calculated approach this time. But the real question is, can he keep his cool if things start going south?
It'll be interesting to see. But what about Gordon Ramsay? He didn't get much of a chance to shine in his first match against Obama. What do you make of him?
Well, from what I've heard, he wasn't able to use the deck that suits him best in his first match. So we should expect to see a completely new strategy he's got cooking for us.
Participants are allowed to change decks for these matches. So I wager to say we definitely will be seeing the Hell's Kitchen chef utilize cards that are more his style.
I believe in you, Darth. You might be an arrogant, self-serving son of a bitch, but gosh darn it, I believe in you.
Touching. Now then, are both contestants ready to begin?
Let's cut this shit out. Let us begin.
Then without further ado, it's time to do more.
Duel! Ah, yes, I remember you now. You're that easily irritable human who was defeated very early on, aren't you? Well, my apologies, but I don't have time for a cook who's already been burned.
Right, because if anyone has the right to talk about being burned, it's the guy who wears a bucket on his head to hide his face.
I hide from no one, you insect.
Darkseid would beg to differ. I hear he's been riding your ass ever since your humiliating defeat.
I won't deny that, which is precisely why victory in this little exhibition match is pivotal in my plans. Debts must be paid, and you're standing in my way of that.
Oh, I'm about to do a lot more than just stand in your way, friend. I've taken Obama's words to heart, and I've acquired the necessary ingredients to perfect my cooking deck.
You won't be the first to try, and you certainly won't be the last to fail. Now enough talk. Why don't you start us off since you seem so eager to lose?
Gladly. Why don't I set the temperature by summoning Manjula for 10,000 pounds? And when he's summoned onto the field, his ability lets me retrieve a ritual spell to my hands. I think it's time I give you a taste of what's in store as I activate the ritual spell. Recette de poisson. Now, by offering my Manjula as a sacrifice, I can stir the pot and ritual summon Politis de Nouvelle. And thanks to Politis' special ability after being summoned, I can draw a card. I'll then set this card face down and relinquish the turn to you.
I draw. I see. You've clearly spent some time in the kitchen. But you're going to need a lot more than a few spices to make a meal of this appetizer.
Then what are you waiting for? Where is that raw power you pride yourself on? Or are you losing your nerve, just like you lost your son?
He made his choice, foolish as it was, but your fate is entirely in my hands. And I never make the same mistake twice. So save your taunts for someone who actually gives a damn.
Well, excuse me.
Let me demonstrate what I mean as I summon Cosmo Goodwitch in attack position. I'll then activate the spell Emergency Teleport, allowing me to special summon Cosmo Farm Girl straight from my deck. Baffled. Now, by Goodwitch, eradicate his feeble monster.
Not so fast, you half-baked twat. When Politis de Nouvelle is targeted for an attack, I can use its special ability to tribute it, as well as one of your monsters, in order to special summon a level 4 or 5 Nouvelle's ritual monster from my deck. So welcome to the field, Valamunier de Nouvelle. And since Valamunier de Nouvelle's was just summoned, I'm allowed to add any Nouvelle's card from my deck to my hand.
An impressive maneuver, but you'll find that my assault is far from over, as I now activate Farm Girl's special ability to banish herself in order to special summon my...
Sorry, but your assault will be ending prematurely because I'm choosing to activate my trap. Yes, special recipe.
What?
You heard me the first time, you donut. Now, since I control a Nouvelle's monster on the field, I can negate the effect of your monster, which means there'll be no special summoning for you during this battle.
You bastard. I see you've done your homework on how my Cosmo monsters work.
I mean, it's not that complicated. I'm also surprised at the fact that you still use such a flawed deck. I thought you said you never make the same mistake twice, yet here you are, making it for the 3rd time.
You talk a lot of shit for a first-round loser. It's a good thing I didn't deal with situations like these, and I'll be activating one of them now by the name of Cosmo Town. Now, once per turn, I can retrieve a banished Cosmo monster back to my hand by paying a small cost. I'll then activate the second ability of Cosmo Town, granting me the power to shuffle a Cosmo card back into my deck in order to draw a card. Think of it as a sort of refill on a cup of coffee.
More like a cup of unprocessed Yankee Doodle shit.
And I'm sure you've had your own fair share of those attitudes, but that's enough banter for now. It's your move.
Welcome back to Woodland Life with Sleep Country, where after a resolute holiday season, the Canadian human...
I draw. It's just as I thought. The heart and soul of his deck lies in that field spell. As long as he has it out on the field, he'll be able to continuously recycle his banished Cosmo monsters and restock his hand. But if I can somehow make it ineffective, this game's as good as won.
What's the matter, Nancy? Are you having trouble deciding which way you wish to fail?
How could I when I've got a walking, talking, breathing example right in front of me?
Cute, but I can already tell you're having trouble finding a way to deal with my field spell. It's quite the conundrum, isn't it?
Hardly. I hate to rain on your edgelord parade, but you aren't the only one with a powerful field spell, as I'm now activating
Nouvelle's Aubergine table. And now that the table has been set, my field spell allows me to add any recipe cards to my hand. Now let's give your monsters a taste of a home-cooked meal as I activate Vancover de cuisine.
What exactly are you cooking up over there?
A meal that will put you on the chopping block, because thanks to Vancover de cuisine, I can not only special summon Patricia Couverture to my side of the field, I can also summon Poissonnier de Nouvelles onto your side of the field.
What nonsense is this? What could you possibly gain by granting me command of one of your monsters?
I'm merely seasoning the dish before it's ready to be served. And now, with the table set, I'm activating the ritual spell, Respect de Viande. By tributing my Pâtisserie Couverture, as well as a monster in my hand, I can now ritual summon the true piece de resistance of this deck, Valgrille de Nouvelles.
Am I supposed to be intimidated by that overweight doughboy?
Shade him all you want. You'll find that Valgrille's appetite isn't so easily satisfied, as thanks to his special ability, I can tribute one of your monsters in order to call forth America's favourite food, Hungry Burger.
So this is one of the legendary fast foods that has caused obesity to reach unprecedented levels in this country. How fascinating.
Please. That only applies to burgers cooked by minimum wage employees working behind the drive-thru of a McDonald's. The burger you see before you is of the finest quality, with only the most freshest of ingredients.
I also see now why you were so insistent on handing me one of your monsters. You managed to not only amass an army of your own, but also strip me of any defense I could muster simultaneously. Be proud. You have earned my sincerest praise.
You can take your praise and ram it right up your Disney-coloured ass. Now let us battle. First off, Valgrille's attacks you directly. Next will be Valamurier. And finally, Hungry Burger will attack. I'll then set this card face down and end my turn. And now, since it's the end phase, I can activate the second effect of Nouvelle's Auberge, allowing me to select 2 cards in my graveyard, and as long as one of them is a recipe card, I can place them both at the bottom of my deck in order to draw a card.
I draw. You must feel real proud to blatantly rip off one of the effects of my Cosmo Town.
It's only common sense for a restaurant to recycle their leftovers, though I suppose I shouldn't expect an emotionally distant man-child that likes to play dress-up to understand basic business practices.
Is that the same business practice that caused the failure of your Union Street Cafe?
How the fuck do you even know about that?
Oh, I've learned quite a lot during my stay on this meager planet. And among all the things I've absorbed, the most important lesson I've learned is that there is no such thing as a deficit too large to overcome.
A riveting speech, my vertically challenged friend, but I'm afraid your outdated deck has nothing left to offer in this 5-course meal.
I wouldn't be too hasty to judge the capabilities of my deck, you damn fool. But talk is cheap. So why don't I show you by activating the spell, Trade. Now, by discarding a level 8 monster from my hand, I can draw 2 cards. It's a shame you used so many ingredients to prepare your dish because I'm about to clear your plate with the destructive might of writing. Seems even the gods have decided to intervene on my behalf, and now every monster on your field shall be wiped out.
You think so? Because my face-down card says otherwise.
You wouldn't.
I activate Solemn Judgment. Now, by paying half of my life points, I can call forth the divine power of the Lord himself to negate your little storm.
To think you used such a risky card at this stage of the game, do you not believe the price you paid was too steep?
Not in the slightest, because I already know that this turn will be your last.
Your confidence is impressive, but I'm far from finished yet. I now call forth Armageddon Knight in attack mode, and with his special ability, I can now send any dark monster from my deck straight to the grave.
I haven't the foggiest clue what he's got brewing in his pot with that move, but it's best to weed out the problem before it gets a chance to grow. I activate the effect of my Ballerina, allowing me once again to tribute one of your monsters in order to special summon another Valgrille de Nouvelles. Oh, and since I forgot to mention it before, whenever Valgrille de Nouvelles is summoned, he can negate the effect of all face-up cards you control for 1 turn.
Wait, but that means...
It means that if you were planning on using that field spell of yours this turn, then think again.
Well, must admit, you certainly surprised me, Max. Surprised me with how easy it was to lure you into my trap, that is. I end my turn.
I draw. What the bloody bloody hell is that nucky up to? Surely he hasn't conceded the match to me already, has he? But how else could he hope to mount a comeback with no monsters and no face downs to protect him? Something isn't smelling right here.
What's the matter, Gordon? Surely you aren't beginning to have doubts now, are you?
Do you really think your mind games will work on a guy that's been in the kitchen for over 30 years?
All those years of training, and yet so few skills to show for them. What shit.
I'm warning you, buckethead. You better take that back or else I swear I'm going to...
Silence me with your actions, fool, not your words.
Very well. I am now summoning Papacorn in attack mode. And this little ingredient gives 1,000 extra attack points if a field spell is present on the field. Battles. Now, Papacorn, put him down for good.
Think again. I now activate the effect of Battle Favor, allowing me to special summon it and immediately put an end to your battle phase.
All that front running, and yet you've only managed to prolong your suffering. You must be quite a masochist.
What? I've had to endure listening to you blabber for the entirety of this duel, haven't I?
Your clever retorts won't save you from what's coming next as I end my turn. And once more, I'll use the effect of Nouvelle's Auberge to recycle 2 cards in the graveyard in order to draw a new one.
This is it. If I'm going to claim victory against this fool and obtain my redemption, I must draw that card. Failure is not an option. For my pride, my future, and my goddamn debt to Darkseid, the Lord of the Sith will not fail again. I draw. I've enjoyed this game of ours while it lasted, Ramsey, but I'm afraid that our time together is at an end.
Has wearing that bucket on your head finally started to fry your brain? No matter what you stomach, I can simply use Balgwill's effect to tribute it.
And how exactly do you plan on doing that with all of your monsters on occupied?
What?
Look at your field. Now back to me. Now look back at your field. Now back to me. You didn't even realize that as you slowly accumulated power on your side of the field, you were also filling up your monster zones in the process. And without any monster zones available, your Balgwill's effect is useless.
He's right. Fuck! How could I have made such a blunder? Well, even if that's true, how exactly do you plan on confronting this assortment of wild practitioners I've laid out before you?
Surely, as a master chef, you've heard the term quality over quantity. And now that I have exactly 4 dark monsters in my graveyard, I can tribute my Battle Vader in order to call forth one of the newest additions to my army, Dark Lord Zerato.
And what does this ominous-sounding creature do?
It enlightens what he does. Because thanks to Zerato's special ability, by discarding the dark monsters in my hand, I can eradicate every monster you have on the field.
You may have managed to clear my dining table, but your monster doesn't have the strength to finish the job.
Well, why don't we test that theory, shall we? Now, Dark Lord Zerato, attack him directly, and I'll be boosting his strength by activating the power.
Not so fast! I don't know what card you've got to boost your monster's power, but you aren't the only one that can negate an attack. Because by banishing the bacon saver in my graveyard, I can put a stop to your assault.
Well, thank you, Ramsey, because I was hoping you would.
You what?
I now activate the quick play spell. Double or nothing. And since my monster's attack was negated this turn, not only can it go in for a second round, but its attack points are doubled. For this one battle.
Well, wait a moment. But that means you were bluffing me the entire time.
But of course. I am the master of deception after all.
But this was supposed to be my chance at redeeming myself.
I'm sure it was, Ramsey, but I'm afraid redemption isn't on the menu for you. Now, Dark Lord Zerato, wipe out his life points with dark prominence.
No one wants to wait.
It sure was, Jenna. Words can't describe how proud I am of my patient. Doug showed a level of restraint and maturity I've never seen from him before. Despite all of the trash talking, he managed to stay calm, focused, and composed. And that's not easy to do, especially when your opponent is the Michael Jordan of cussing people out.
Definitely. I was quite impressed by the confidence he displayed in bluffing Gordon Ramsay at the very end into negating his Zerato's attack, which gave him the opportunity to capitalize off of double or nothing.
It also helped that Gordon shot himself in the foot by filling up his monster zone. This is why I always stress the importance of keeping a level head in stressful situations. It can be the difference between winning and losing, as we just saw.
Agreed. Congratulations, Darth Vader. How does it feel to be our first redeemed match winner?
Like an apocalypse-sized boulder has been lifted off of my chest. It was a long, hard climb, but the victory feels sweeter than a freshly cooked batch of dead eaters. And I owe it all to you, Doctor. It was only thanks to your counseling that prevented me from choking the life out of Ramsey during our duel. I'm glad to hear that, Dark. I was worried that in your pursuit of clearing your debt, some of your bad habits would resurface. But it looks like all my time spent with you has paid off. That it has. And as for you, man, you were a fierce opponent. If you had dueled the old me, I certainly would have been the one to lose our match.
I guess that means I should be honoured to have been defeated by a sick lord. It's a title most wouldn't mind having, but don't let this victory get into your head, you donkey, because I will be back for a rematch someday.
And you can count on me being here, ready to stomp your ass back into the ground in time.
God, you're such a lovable prick.
The feeling's mutual. Now then, I take it I can expect a suitable prize as a reward for my victory?
Of course. We've already deposited the money into your bank account. Please enjoy your winnings, and do try not to get into any more debt if you can.
No promises. But now that I'm a free man once again, what would you say to accompany me for a celebratory dinner?
Are you asking me out on a date? I wasn't expecting that.
Well, what can I say? The force isn't the only thing pulling me in your direction.
Oh my.
Okay, stop right there, Dark Brizzler. I'd very much appreciate you not flirting with my co-host on live TV.
I'd appreciate it if you didn't stick your bald-headed ass where it doesn't belong.
You want to say that again, you bucket-headed neck breather?
Okay, that's enough of that. I appreciate the offer, Dart, and I'll certainly consider it.
Give it some thought, Jenna. You know where to find me.
I literally don't, though, but all right then. Well, that was something.
He may be an evil lord of the Sith, but I'll admit, the man can definitely spit game.
Right. Anyway, that's the end of our show, folks. Stay tuned for our next redeem match that'll see two more of your favorite duelists get another chance to shine.
Previously on the Celebrity World Championship.
You're the last hope humanity has, Obama.
Right. That's what I was worried about.
In today's match, we have the hip-hop legend Snoop Dogg facing off against the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama.
You plan on making a move this century, man? I've seen stoners think back.
Duel!
And I gotta hand it to you, Star-Lord, or whatever they call you. When I first saw the list of duelists entering my tournament, I never imagined you'd be one of the last ones standing. You've earned my sincerest praise.
You think I care about a compliment from a guy who's the poster boy for orange skin and bad hair?
I'm glad to see that being chased around by that bucket-wearing Sith Lord hasn't diminished your spirit.
How do you think I've managed to survive this long? I practically turned running away into an art form.
Yeah, most guys wouldn't admit to nor be proud of that fact.
Well, I'm not most guys now, are I?
That's for sure. And that'll make crushing you and your knockoff Blue Eyes get all the more satisfying.
I think you mean upgrade, Donnie. The future is now, old man. And your outdated dinosaurs are staring at the new and improved version of what you used to know.
The only thing that'll be improved is your list of excuses when I send your 1970s looking ass to the Shadow Realm.
I'd like to see you try, Grandpa. Don't think that I'm the same as those two amateurs that you beat on your way here. In fact, why don't you start us off then, if you're feeling that confident? It is your tournament after all.
As if I needed you to remind me of that. But I'll gladly dip my toes into the water if that's what you want. I'll start us off by summoning Maiden with Eyes of Blue in attack mode. Then I'll set these two cards face down and end my turn.
I draw.
Take your best shot, Quill. Surely you're not afraid of attacking my weak and defenseless Maiden, are you?
That has to be the saddest attempt at a fate I've ever seen. Who'd fall for such an obvious trap?
You clearly never met the voters of South Dakota. But regardless, you won't be able to lay a finger on me as long as I have my Maiden protecting me. And even if you do manage to get past her, I've got a nice surprise lying in wait for you, just like Randy Orton in WrestleMania.
I can tell just by looking at that dumb expression on your face that you actually believe you're safe behind your little princess and your face downs. Well, allow me to personally squash that face as I summon Photon Crusher in attack position. And since I control a Photon monster, I can also special summon Photon Vanisher. Now, thanks to Vanisher's special ability after being special summoned, I can add a galaxy-eyed Photon Dragon to my hands. I'll now be overlaying my level 4 Photon Crusher with my level 4 Photon Vanisher in order to exceed summon Starleague's Photon Blast Dragon. And since Photon Vanisher was used in its XZ summon, my Blast Dragon can now banish any monster it destroys in battle.
An impressive effect, but what good will it be on such a mediocre monster?
Oh, you'll see just how mediocre he is when I activate his second ability, allowing me to special summon the Galaxy-Eyes Photon Dragon I just added to my hand.
I was hoping you would, because I'm activating my bottomless trap point. You aren't the only one who can banish monsters' quill, as my trap will remove your blue eyes knockoff permanently from this duel.
You better read again, Donnie, because as long as my Photon Blast Dragon is out on the field, none of my monsters can be targeted or destroyed by any of your card effects.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. But don't relax just yet, because I'm far from done with you. Bam! Attack his maiden Blast Dragon!
I activate my maiden's special ability, allowing her to negate your attack and switch her position to defense mode. And that's not all, as I can now call forth a blue-eyed white dragon from my deck. Didn't I tell you, Quill? Now you have no way of getting to my life points this turn with my mate in defense mode, and both our dragons being equal in strength.
You just love being wrong today, don't you?
What?
Attack his maiden Photon Dragon. And while he's doing that, I think I'll boost my dragon's attack with the quick play spell, Photon Trident.
Some master plan that was. You could give it 1,000,000 extra attack points and it wouldn't matter, as my mate is in defense mode.
Precisely. Because your maiden is in defense position, Photon Trident's second ability activates, allowing my dragon to pierce through its defense straight to your life points. Yeah. I've got some more bad news for you, Donnie. Since you just suffered damage from a monster boosted by the power of Photon Trident, I can destroy a spell or trap on the field. So I'll be ridding you of that last face down you have there. I think that'll be all for now. So I'll place this card face down and end my turn. What's the matter, Donnie? Not winning as easily as you expected to?
All right, Will. It seems that I've